I misspoke. It was 44 days in the 90s, back in 1988. I pray that doesn't happen again. By the way, if anybody asks, we've had 12 days at or above 90 so far in the Twin Cities. And that spell of 90s so early in June has never happened before. That many days in a row above 90 degrees. Wondering if legislators in St. Paul are feeling the heat to get a budget deal done, coming down to the wire late Wednesday night. We'll see if there is, in fact, a government shutdown. I know somebody who has the latest on that. Blois Olson joins us this morning. Hey, Blois.
Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, sir.
Welcome to the morning shift.
Oh, boy. Yeah, it's late night. I consider it late night. And
oh, that's a good way to think about it. Party guy like you just stays up all night. That makes sense.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm all about the parties. So is it going to be a party at the state capitol here by Thursday morning?
Yeah, they made a lot of progress in St. Paul over the weekend, especially on public safety reform, a general agreement there. So I think today and tomorrow they'll move most of the budget bills. 7 of the 14 have been sent to Governor Walz for his signature. I think he's signed about 5 of them. And a lot of the things that still have to go are fairly mundane. The biggest obstacle now remaining is some agreement over Governor Walz's executive power. On Friday, he announced that he would keep his executive power until August 1st. He had a letter and outlined why from the state's Homeland Security Manager, Joe Kelly. And so we have a copy of that letter. But I think that will be the major tension point here in the final days. The one question is, will Republicans kind of hold everything up for that emergency powers piece? Because one of the things that they've kind of implied they wanted to do is change emergency power laws for the future so that governors couldn't have this kind of power for this long. And so that could be a part of some sort of final bargain and negotiation between the governor and Republicans in the Senate.
Blois, it seems there was, in fact, some bipartisan agreement on public safety. Some would say baby steps towards police reform. Where is their agreement?
There's agreement on no-knock warrants. There's agreement on 911 calls trying to find mental health professionals in mental health emergencies rather than just summoning police officers. So those are probably the two biggest pieces. One big thing that doesn't seem to be breaking through here is if you think about this, every time you change laws and regarding policing, you have to retrain and re-educate process procedures across the state. And process and procedure in a small town versus a big city are very different. And I think that's one of the things that people haven't talked about. But Paul, I just realized this. I'm sure you realize this. And maybe it's starting to sink in more and more. We are just in an era of, civil tension on issues like race. Our country's gone through this before. We're in one right now. And the difference is we're now seeing the transparency of the legislature, the rulemaking, the lawmaking, in kind of a play-by-play manner, whereas, I've never lived through anything like this before. There wasn't social media. We didn't see every move before. So I think that is one of those pieces. And the question is, does it last another year? Does it last another 2 years? But I think it's just here to stay for a while, especially with an election next year.
Blois, I'm just curious, and I asked the question rhetorically last Friday to Stephen Belton from the Urban League Twin Cities about the uptick in violence, the 90% increase in shootings in Minnesota, in specifically Minneapolis, just since last year. And how do you thread the needle? Obviously, we want to keep people safe in the downtowns everywhere, and yet there is still this push towards police reform. I couldn't help but notice that Minnesota Attorney General Keith Ellison got some airtime. He's been fairly outspoken in the wake of the Derek Chauvin sentencing. What can you tell us about that?
He was on ABC This Week yesterday. He talked about community members and police working together. He talked about the faith community kind of looking at the hot corners in Minneapolis right now and trying to staff them and keep the peace. But it is going to be a struggle all summer. The Star Tribune had a great piece over the weekend about Minneapolis recruiting police, the number of police out for PTSD. So I think this will be an ongoing conversation, like I said, Paul, through this summer, et cetera. But you're right. The number, the level of spike in Minneapolis has to be alarming to everyone, not just people who live in Minneapolis. And it's in the neighborhoods as much as it is downtown. Downtown, they've actually kind of buckled down, and it feels a little safer right now.
Blois Olson, appreciate the update, sir. Have a great Monday, Blois. Thank you.
Talk to you tomorrow, Paul.